Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. More than 700,000 people take their own lives in a single year across the world. This is according to the World Health Organization as the world marks World Suicide Prevention Day. In South Africa, 23 people commit suicide in a day, with over 200 attempts. To help us make sense of these alarming statistics, I'm now joined by Cassey Chambers, Operations Director at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. A very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. Some shocking revelations when it comes to those numbers, speaking to a very serious matter. Why are we seeing such alarming numbers?
I think these numbers are really significant because I think, again, when we're looking at figures, 23 a day. We know that the most at-risk age group for suicide in South Africa are teenagers. Even further to that, South African men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. And these stats are alarming. These are people's lives. And I think we have to remember that all these figures and numbers are also people. These are our husbands, our brothers, our partners. It's really important that we know that with these figures, these have a huge impact in our society. When we're looking at some of the contributing factors as to why we're dealing with such a high figure, and I think there's also a stat that says that South African suicide rates are ranked 10th in the world. I think we're having to look at the kinds of complex issues that so many South Africans are dealing with: trauma, loss, unemployment, financial strain, relationships. There's so many contributing factors. I think for a lot of people, they don't have the support or the coping skills to manage that. And that's when they're thinking that suicide is the only way to end their problems.
Now, feelings and thoughts remain hidden for a lot of people who end up attempting or even thinking of suicide. How do we then navigate around that and encourage more open conversations and the right kind of conversations that need to take place?
And that's so important. You know, talking about suicide is still a very taboo topic. It can scare a lot of people. We're afraid of saying the wrong thing. We're afraid of planting a seed, which is a common myth around suicide that we have. So a lot of people don't like to talk about the topic because it is heavy. And we're not sure that if someone says, yes, actually, this is how I'm feeling, we don't know how to help or what to do. And I think this is what World Suicide Prevention Day is all about, is that if we can talk more openly about this heavy topic and encourage people to have more brave conversations, we can create safe spaces for people to open up, to really connect. And I think for loved ones and partners and parents and families to really get a sense as to what's going on in someone's life. When you're dealing with someone who is suicidal, who often feels so alone that no one understands what they're going through, having someone check in and say, hey, I'm really worried about you. Are you okay? Could start the conversation that we could then get them help. You know, talking about suicide isn't going to make someone kill themselves. There's actually research around the world that says by talking about suicide, we actually prevent suicide. So by normalizing the conversation, giving the language of what to say and what not to say can be really helpful and often the first step to getting someone the help that they need.
So what are the right words to say? Because, you know, as you make mention of the stigma and the sort of tippy-toeing around talking about suicide in case you plant a seed and someone starts thinking about it, I mean, no one wants to be responsible for that.
And that's a common myth. You know, we have the myth that if we start talking about suicide to someone, and this I think also a lot of parents and teachers often feel, if we start talking about suicide with our teenager, we're going to plant the seed. And no one can plant the seed of suicide. What actually can happen from it is that you're opening a conversation and you're saying, hey, you can talk to me about it. So your teen might actually feel more relieved that they can connect with you and open up about some of the feelings that they're having, some of those dark thoughts that are making them feel overwhelmed. So by talking about it doesn't plant a seed. It actually encourages someone to open up. Some of the things and around the suicide language that we should be using and can be using, and it's a process where we're really wanting to learn how better to talk about it. Saying things like committed suicide, which is what we hear a lot, and it's something that unfortunately we use as a society. Dying by suicide is not a crime, so it's not a criminal offense. So instead of saying committed suicide, you can say died by suicide or death by suicide. We often see a lot of people using the term failed suicide. Actually, someone who has attempted suicide but hasn't died is actually a really positive thing because the person is still here, they're still alive, and we can get them the emergency help that they need. So it's not a failed attempt, it's just an attempted suicide. So I think these are just one of the ways we can start changing how we talk about it. I think a tip for a family member or a friend or a parent on like how do you start talking or connecting with someone or even just checking in to see if they do have thoughts of suicide. I think if you have any gut and you've had any warning signs that something might not be right, if you're worried about someone, ask them today. Often we're too scared and we set off the conversation for another time, but talk about it in that moment and get the help that they need. And it could be, I'm really worried about you and I've noticed that you've been really struggling, or you're withdrawing from family and friends, or you posted something on social media that really concerned me. Can we talk about it? Have you had dark thoughts before where you've thought of ending your life? Something as direct as that could open a conversation where someone could say, oh no, I'm totally fine. I've just had a bad day. It's okay.
Yeah.
Or it could be actually, yes, I'm feeling like that all the time and I don't know what to do. And if you're not sure where to begin or what to do or where to go to get help, you can also reach out to the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and we can give you resources and tips on how to get help for your loved one. So you don't have to fix the problem or give them therapy. You can actually take them to the right mental health professionals who can get them the help and care that they need.
Very well. Thank you so much. That was SADC Operations Director Cassey Chambers speaking about World Suicide Prevention Day.